I'm just walking through. I don't know if anybody's here. Maybe nobody's here yet. No, nobody's here. Okay. Hey, Sammy M. I'm just walking through the woods to get to where I kind of want to start this. Um, this is a lot of what you're going to see today. I don't have anything really to talk about other than, hey, Deborah O, we can talk about the Acadian forest and over there, that's the maple bucket. I don't know if you were with us the other day, but we tapped a tree here. And could you give a briefing of what? Of what? What? Yeah, I was gonna do. Yeah, there's not a lot of sap there because we drank it all. Yeah, once this starts, I'm like 2.5 minutes away. A briefing of what we're going to show, Sammy, is we're going to take a walk in these woods. We're going to talk about some of the trees, some of the natural life, some of the animals. I'll show you the maple tree we tapped the other day and talk about that. And then we'll walk down to the water, catch the snow down on the water. We'll talk a little bit about East Port Medway and where it is and what it is. And mostly just enjoy the visuals of this really beautiful day in the oceanside Acadian forest biome in the east coast of Canada there. Blop. So I'll turn it around for now, and you guys have to put up with my goofy looking face for a few minutes until we get people here. How's everybody else doing today? Hello, Suzanne. Suzanne in Vancouver. I enjoyed your city many years ago when I was there. Alan F, hello. Oh, thanks, Sammy. That's amazing. Where are you at, Sammy M? Bahrain. No way. That's amazing. Ah, that's somewhere I've never been but would love to go. What's it like there right now? Is it super warm? What time of day is it? It must be early evening, nighttime? Uh, yeah, cool. 10 p.m. Oh, it's like nighttime. That's great. Well, hopefully this is a nice little tour to unwind. I imagine it's a much different scenery, hopefully, and it'll be a little interesting. And we got like 20 seconds to go. Pleasant weather? Pleasant weather meaning quite warm, or we've had this year a unseasonably hot winter. Not hot, but like quite warm. Hola, Norma. 68 Fahrenheit. I think that's nice. I live in Celsius. I'm not sure what that is. But okay. Hello, everyone. We're here in the Acadian forest biome on the south shore of Nova Scotia. So we're about hour and a half down the coast from Halifax. If you want to look it up, that the area is called East Port Medway. It started snowing out of nowhere this early this afternoon, so a couple of hours ago. And I just understand how fast it can snow here. If anybody was on the maple syrup or the maple tapping tour I did on Saturday, so 2 days ago, it looked like springtime. Like there's not a lot of green, but all the evergreens are green, but there was no snow. You could see all the ground, you could see everything. And now I take my gloves off for this. If I turn this camera around, suddenly you see, like, look at that. Look at that. Budapest, amazing. So this happened in the space of about an hour and a half. These flakes started falling and they've covered all the ground. How far from Toronto, Sammy? If you were to drive, it's 18 hours, 19 hours. If you were to fly, it's like a 2.5 hour flight plus an hour and a half drive from the airport. But 2,000 kilometers thereabouts, which I guess is 1,200 miles, something like that. But anyway, yeah. So this is, I kind of imagine similar to like a Hungarian forest. I don't know, but this is what we're looking at right now, and I think it's just amazing. So it's very pretty, Suzanne. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna look at this little bucket here, and this little bucket is, if anybody was here on the maple syrup tour or the maple sap tour on Seardy, that's what we did. Is we tapped that tree, and I'll be honest, what happened yesterday was Annie and I took a walk in the woods, and I saw that this bucket was like quite full, and so we drank all the maple sap because it's delicious. And now, let's see. I mean, there's a little bit. It's a bit cold, so you kind of can't see it, but if we get in there, bonk, can you see it? That there. So that's very little of it, but that is maple sap. And yeah, so the sap is running right now. This is private property. I own this 13 acres, so I'm going to drink this sap. Oh my gosh. And so, also, when it freezes, the ice on top is straight water, and the unfrozen bit is much sweeter. So what I just got was a really good mouthful of maple sap. Oh my gosh, it was really good. And then you can take the ice, and it's like sugar, or it's like just vaguely mapley. Delightful. So, well, what else is there? Hello, Lynn M. Sammy, it's very sweet. Basically, the way it works, I'll turn this around. You don't have to look at me while we talk about it. This year I'll probably tap about 20 trees. I don't have a big operation. I'm not doing this for profit. I'm doing this because free maple syrup. But Sammy, it's when it comes out of the tree, it's like, it tastes basically like water with the tiniest little bit of sugar into it. But when it freezes, what happens is the sugars don't freeze, the water freezes. And so if you take the ice away, like the native people before, metal pots and stuff were here, they would tap the trees and they'd drain into basically bark buckets, and they would let the sap freeze, because every night, like, the best time to tap a tree is when it's frozen overnight and then above zero or above freezing during the day. So they'd come in the morning after it had frozen all night, they'd pull the ice off the top, and what they'd be left with is a very sweet liquid. Not as sweet as maple syrup because we haven't cut it, or we haven't boiled it down yet, but on the way. So getting to taste that like sweet mouthful of syrup is just wonderful. Here's my little bridge that I haven't finished making. I've got to do a lot of work around here, but it's coming. The snow kind of keeps it from being super productive because the ground's frozen and stuff. How many acres? I have 13 acres, 12.9. So my house is on probably about 1.5 acres of it, and the rest is this beautiful forest with these lovely trees and just this ridiculous snow. Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know if we'll get lucky today, because sometimes I like to do really quiet walks, and we can see, oh, it's so peaceful. We can see, hello, Virginia. Is that Virginia Woolf? That would be amazing. I have a friend named Virginia Woolf. But sometimes you can be very quiet and walk through these woods, and you wind up surprising the occasional animal if you're really good at it. Can we see a complete view of the tree? Any wildlife? Which tree would you like, Sammy? There's a ton of them. We can get, I don't know, they're so pretty. You know what? I'll take you down to the water and then I'll walk across and I'll show you a big, beautiful maple tree, one of my favorite maples. We'll be there in a couple of minutes. Suzanne, the wildlife here is pretty abundant. So on the property, I've seen deer. I've seen a ton of snowshoe hares. Last year, I watched a bobcat walk through the yard. That was probably one of the high points of my year, if I'm being really honest. You do not get to see those very often. They're just really elusive and they're very solitary. So that was cool. I've seen coyote poop. I've seen otters. There's river otters that like to swim in the ocean. Lots of owls. I surprised a snowy owl just a little while ago when I was cutting this trail that we're walking on right now. And he sat in a tree and stared down at me for minutes. And we just had this really beautiful kind of quiet moment together. I love that. There's eagles. I've got chickens. There's little, I forget what they're called, but they're like in the martin family, so they're like a kind of weasel. And they're in the wintertime, they're like bone white, and it's amazing. What other animals? So many, so many. There's seals all over the place in the wintertime, in the fall. You can hear them singing because they come to a rock that's pretty close by. Obviously, they're not in the woods, but I'll walk us down. I've got some ocean front that I walk us down to, and they all congregate there for their mating season. And you can hear them singing, doing their mating calls. It's pretty great. So right around here is where I saw the owl, but I don't think that's going to happen today. I'm kind of scanning. The snow is so fresh that it's, unless we've just interrupted somebody, we're not going to see much in the way of tracks. But when you're walking, it's always good in the winter to pay attention because you can quite often see some nice animal tracks. But this, I don't know, it's pretty congested here, but this tree, kind of in the center of the tree. What's up, Aaron and Jeff, Canada? So this tree that we're looking at, that's a little set behind the other thing that's sticking forward, is the one where the owl was sitting. And it was really beautiful. Any skiing in the area or too flat? No, we do. We have 2 ski hills in Nova Scotia, and they are a bummer. It's pretty flat. It's not super big, especially not compared to anywhere near anything in the West Coast or even, like Quebec. But it's also, the snow here is very wet. So after a few people go on runs, you're basically on an ice rink. Like, I'm a decent snowboarder, and I'd been skiing and snowboarding all over the country, and I came here and I separated my shoulder almost instantly because it was just brutal. Just an ice rink on that hill. But one of the things they say, and I think this is true of mountain biking as well, is like if you can handle riding in Nova Scotia, you can handle riding anywhere or skiing, because the terrain is just so inhospitable. So there's some cross country, more to the north. Like I'm in a place they call the Banana Belt. So obviously this is the Banana Belt. But you go further north in the province and you get some beautiful cross country stuff. So this is another little trail we cut. I love how, I don't know, it's lovely, half spooky it looks. Morning, Misty. So now this trail will take us down to the ocean. We'll go down to the ocean. We'll look at that. If I'm walking too fast, talking too much, talking not enough, if you have any questions, let me know. This is a really, honestly, I saw the snow falling and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. And maybe some people are in the office or at home or whatever and would love to see freshly falling snow on a Nova Scotian wood, because it sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to go down to the water. Thanks, Aaron and Jeff. What kind of trees on my property? Well, I have, as you saw, maples. We've got some spruce. We've got like birch and alder. There's what is it? We don't have Douglas fir here. We have balsam fir, but I think they're kind of a similar thing. The red spruce and the balsam fir are very fast growing and almost pests. They spring up out of nowhere. And so it's kind of nice because you kind of can use them. Like I use them for building. I have a chainsaw mill and I can cut them down and use them for building and not feel bad about it. And then the idea is get, uh, as I cut clearings, I can put in hardwoods and more sustainable trees because there's not a lot of Nova Scotia that hasn't been logged. People, you know, started logging this as soon as they came from Europe and used to send, actually, I'll show you, uh, we're just about down at the water, and across the water is the town of Port Medway, which used to be a bustling lumber port because it was on what the settlers called the Medway River. And I have to admit that I don't know what it was called before colonization, but they used to cut logs down all over the inside of the province. And then, oh yeah, here's a lovely little, I don't know if this one's a birch or an alder. I honestly have a hard time telling the difference. But they'd float them down the river and then they'd load them into the boats. And an interesting thing about Port Medway, which you'll see from a distance, is that Port Medway's streets used to be bone white. They used to be as white as bleached coral because they were actually paved with bleached coral. What would happen is they'd load up the sailing boats, the shipping boats, with logs from up the Medway River that they'd floated down, and then take them down to the shipyards in Bahamas, and then they couldn't send the ships back. So we've cut some of this. We're gonna have a burn here, but this is a nice little clearing. Here's a beautiful maple tree we'll get to. But they couldn't send the boats back empty because they tipped, right? They were designed to be carrying heavy loads. So they dredged harbors. They had all these dead corals, and they'd load the boats with the dead corals as ballast, and then they'd unload the coral to load up more trees, and then they used the corals to pave the roads. So you'd have these bone white paved roads made out of, Caribbean coral. So here's a gorgeous old maple. I don't know how old this one is. My guess is at least a couple hundred years. There's not a ferry across Medway Harbor. You can paddle it on a stand-up paddleboard in half an hour. My friends have done it in kayaks in 20 minutes. And then there's a bridge that you can drive over. And there's one that you can take a bicycle over. Great to be planting hardwoods in the forest. Oh, Aaron and Jeff, we could talk about that here too. It's pretty brutal, but there's so much that can be done in the name of sustainable forestry, but it's just not fast. And I think that's crazy. I also have no plans on using I'm not going to use my land as any kind of tree farm or anything. So I'm thinking for like my son, what's he going to be inheriting? He's going to get a bunch of hardwoods, maybe hopefully more maples, some hickories. I'm kind of experimenting with like slightly warmer weather trees because I think that's just something we need to start getting into. So like hickories and stuff like that did used to grow here. Isn't this ridiculous? This is my view. I moved here. Like I lived in Nova Scotia for a long time, and then I moved to Toronto. But when I was in Nova Scotia, I lived in the city mostly. And then I moved to Toronto to work, and I was there for 10 years and was very lucky. And 4 years ago, so before the pandemic, I bought property and I came here. And I remember when I first came, it was June, and it was just ridiculously gorgeous. And thinking, like, just be stunned by the beauty, and then remembering my like slum apartment in downtown Toronto, which was the only thing I could afford compared to 13 acres here for less than you could get a bachelor condo there for. And coming out, I've got a rock just over the way that some little islands all over the place. It's hard to see right now, but there's some over there. Can I zoom? Bloop. So sorry, it's gonna be a little choppy. There's some islands out there, and then come over, These islands, these two trees here, I love to try to draw. They're kind of my favorite for a long time. I just wanted to get better at drawing. So every day I'd come with a charcoal pad, like a pad of newsprint and charcoals, and just quickly draw them, like do like 3 or 4 drawings, each one taking a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful image. And then here's more. And then Sammy, if you're still here, we're going to get to that really pretty maple in a second. So this is like what we're walking on right now. When the tides are up, all of this is underwater. So we are in a kind of tidal grasses, which obviously you can't tell because of all the snow, but super, super important for keeping soil erosion in check. Little animals live here. There's a deer trail. They walk along the water because they feel safer because you can only be attacked from one side. I've seen across in the wintertime this harbor here coming from, like, it's very close over there, right? Like, if you were to walk, like if you could walk, it would be, hi Annette, hello Julie, it would be like a 10-second walk. So I've seen foxes run across the ice in the middle of winter there. So where am I going here? I've lost control of the gimbal. There it is. Bloop. All right, so Sammy in front of us here, this tree in the middle of the screen is one of my favorite maples. So I actually cut down some of the pines around it to let it breathe a little bit. And last year that tree was one of the most, I kind of hate using this terminology, but like one of the most productive trees. It made so much sap and it was just so, giving. And I felt very fortunate. But yeah, look at that tree and tell me that's not just beautiful. How high is it? Jeez. Let's see. I don't even know, man. Maybe 60 feet, maybe higher. Do you do all this work yourself or do I have helpers? No, I do it all myself. I sugar maple, and that I think so. It's either a sugar maple or a red maple. Those are we have more red maples on the property than sugar maples, but this one was very productive, and so my assumption is that it's actually a sugar maple. And then you see another one behind it there. You know what? Let's walk. Let's walk in there. But yeah, Suzanne, I do the work myself. I'm hoping to start a little something that I can't talk about yet. But in the next couple of weeks, I get to be more public facing about as far as doing some interesting, fun stuff with the land and hopefully leaning into letting people experience kind of the natural beauty of this place without, paving it or putting in condos or whatever. So we're just going to go down to the little point. It'll be real windy down there, so I'll probably bail on that because it's cold. Yeah, so here's the other gorgeous maple. Never been to the East Coast. Suzanne, come to the East Coast. Let me know when you're coming, and I'll put you up. I love looking right up at these trees, just gorgeous. So something about maples too is, I don't know if we can tell here. Well, we're pretty close. They are trees that are opposed rather, so like, what's going on? Oh, I've gone too far the other way. We're looking at me. Sorry, I lost control of the gimbal again. Boom. So if you look at this branch here, which is off of those maples, you see how these guys are opposite to each other rather than having one on this side and then one on the other side, then one on the other side, then one on the other side, which is more common. So maples are one of the hardwoods that have opposed rather than I forget the other word, branches. So if you're ever in the woods and you're trying to figure out, can I tap that tree? Yeah, look for that. And I'll look for the telltale leaves, obviously. Lindsay, you know what? It is, but it's not like, what you have been in Michigan? Brutal. It's not as cold this year. This year's been kind of scary warm, if I'm being really honest. So when this snow started falling, that's why I was like, no, forget it. I'm grabbing the gimbal and just like, you know, booking a quick tour. Maybe people want to just get some snow, but I thought Michigan got a huge dump. I uh, I don't know Michigan super well, although I have to say that Flint is one of my favorite cities in the whole world, and I get a lot of funny looks, especially from Michiganders when I say that. But oh, thank you, Suzanne. Having gone to Flint a couple of times now and seeing what's kind of being built out of um, you know, what was left was is so inspiring and cool. And I mean, honestly, the art gallery in Flint, I think, has more interesting art than anything has in Nova Scotia that I've seen. It's pretty amazing. All right, you guys ready for this? Down! More ocean. So this, if anybody's wondering, uh, is the Atlantic. This is the North Atlantic. What you can't hear right now, that I can hear, is the gentle, quiet roar of waves. That would be at Cherry Hill Beach. Look at that gorgeous little island. Cherry Hill Beach is the beach where I go to surf. My wetsuit is being repaired right now because I blew the zipper out of it, but I'll be out in a week or so. There's a little duck. Oh, there's another little duck. You see them? Too small in the snow. But yeah, getting to live here, tap maple trees, go surfing, walk through the woods, still have a job. It's pretty incredible. And not a day goes by that I don't feel very fortunate for living where I am. I don't know if anybody came in, when was it? I guess November. When this tide is further down, I forage for mussels here. And I did I thought it was a really cool mussel foraging tour where we picked mussels out of like off the beach and stuff here. And I want to do more of those. I really love the foraging tours. So I think we're going to do one where we forage and learn to eat them. You know, like I love foraging periwinkles, uh, like snails, and making pasta out of them, or making like uh, uh, basically snail version of conch fritters, which is like a real Caribbean recipe. And so I kind of want to show people how to use these forage things that we don't typically think of as, like food like that. Like everybody loves ramps and everybody loves fiddleheads and so many of the forageable mushrooms and this and that. But there's so many overlooked things that are like, I mean, snails, this place is lousy with them. And they're good for you. And they're shellfish, right? They're the same as mussels or scallops or whatever. So why not eat them? They're tasty. I mean, garlic butter makes everything tasty, but whatever. Make a nice pasta with them, a little cream sauce. So here's the beautiful water again. Hello, Chelsea and Diane. Oh, you're getting to see the big flakes falling. Look at that, hey? So again, for those who are just joining, just following, whatever, all of this was brown and completely without snow 3 hours ago. And look at it now. This is kind of par for the course for a big Nova Scotia snowfall. It's now supposed to go up to like 12 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit, but quite warm in the next couple of days. And it's going to point you out at the ocean. It's way prettier. So all this will be gone again, you know? It's crazy how much this like changes and goes back and forth. Holy crow, we've been walking and talking for 25 minutes already? Okay, well, maybe what we do, we poke our way along, and I don't know. I've been told that people are here for the ocean views, and when I walk into the woods, it can get a little bit tight and closed in feeling. I just love the woods so much, so I think I might take us back in. I mean, you know what? I think that's another maple that I've never really tapped, but like, can you see this? This big, beautiful son of a gun with the snow on top, and it's like, it looks cartoony. So let's see. Yeah, and if you look, let's see. Who can tell me what I'm looking for? When I zoom in, it won't let me zoom in because it is frozen. Well, what I was going to do is zoom in there and let you see that that's opposed branches. So that big buddy is a maple tree that I think this winter or this week I'll tap, get some sap out of it. So I'm really excited this year because I've got more buckets, got more lids. Oh yeah, anybody who's how cold is it right now? It's like -3, -4. It's not bad. It's not so cold like that I need to wear gloves while I'm operating the gimbal. So that's kind of a good metric. Oh yeah, look at this. It's extra pretty. So this here, so the sap is for my own consumption only. Yeah, I give some away to friends, and then I'll mostly just use it to make other people feel bad about not having a maple syrup operation in their backyard. This here we know this is old man's beard. I don't actually know what it's called. If anybody knows what that's actually called, I will buy you a Coca-Cola one day. My tea is going, or my headphones are going to die soon. But so we make tea out of this. It's high in vitamin C. I always used to use it when I went camping. I would use it as a scrubby because it's nice and it's got some, coarseness to it. So you clean your dishes with it. It's also excellent fire starter. It's one of those ones that if you're in a wood where it grows, learning that it's there and learning how to use it is essential. It's one of those super handy wild plants to know. And yeah, it's also beautiful. And, you can put it on your face, pretend you have a beard, and that's always hilarious. So, okay. I'm walking through. I'm going to stumble a little bit because I'm trying to fight my way through this really beautiful wood with a gimbal rather than just walking. God, that maple is huge. How come I've never seen this one before? Like that tree that I was pointing out, look how big around this is. That's bananas. I don't know how to, let's see how I can show you this. How did I learn about Hago? I learned about Hago from a buddy of mine who's an actual tour operator. And when COVID hit, he, had to figure some things out. And so he started doing it. And he told me about it. And, I was bored and thought it might be a fun thing to do. And yeah, so I started doing it. I don't make a lot of money doing it. I wish I did, but I don't. Uh-oh, Aaron and Jeff, you'll have to come out and we'll get you some maple syrup. Okay, so here's this big tree. Like, look at that. Can you see that's... My headphones died. Sorry, I'll be a little louder. That's how big around this tree is. Like, it's pretty amazing. It's a good size maple. I am definitely going to come back here and tap it. I got to charge my headphones for a few minutes and then hopefully it works again. I also need to put gloves on. What are we saying here, Virginia? I think that was a beard lichen. And if I'm correct, you owe me a cook. I know it's a beard lichen. That's not the name of it. Like I say, we call it old man's beard, which obviously is a beard lichen. Unless is beard lichen the name of the specific one, or is that just like its kind of thing? Oh, damn. Now I owe you a Coke, Virginia. Amazing. I'll have to look that up. I wish there was a way I can download the tours that I do, but I can't see the
the text boxes. Oh, you know what? So I'll just say it and I'll hear it. Usney trichodia, maybe. USNE space TRICHODEA. Oh, Usnea. USNEA TRICHODEA. Okay, so we're going to make our way up the hill here. I gotcha. And then I'll probably say goodbye because we've done our little tour. This is where I'm supposed to prompt tips and that sort of thing, but Lord D, that is an amazing name, and I love that. But I don't feel like doing that, so you know how this platform works. But yeah, oh, thanks, Aaron and Jeff. This trail I did not cut. Oh, there's a little squirrel. Did we see that? Did everybody see that? Thanks, Suzanne. Click into the tour and select join. Oh yeah, Joanna M. Then you can see. Oh, that's cool. All right. Hey, Patrick B. After the fact. Perfect. Well, I'll do that. Thank you. And we'll come through here. Melbourne. Love it. Imagine you don't see much like this there. So right now, is this on you? Yeah, I own this land. It's not a lot. It's 13 acres, so it's more than I've ever owned in my life. This is the first time I've ever owned a house. But all I ever really want to do is run around in the woods now, if I'm being really honest. If this thing was paid off and I didn't have to, Renee, who does Halo, goes, no, I didn't know there was somebody doing that. I would love to make contact. I'll have to look her up. There's not a lot of us doing anything on the South Shore. Suzanne, I'm an hour and a half from Halifax. But yeah, so this is my land. It's a good little chunk. I'm trying my darndest to leave it undeveloped. Oh, you guys want to see something nuts? Look at this. So I am Annette. There's not a day goes by I don't feel gratitude and good fortune. So look at this. This old pine looks kind of like an eastern pine, but I might be wrong. Then you get up here and it is snapped completely. You know, there obviously was like a big branch that is now kind of, well, that would be this branch here. That's down. Sorry, my skills are bananas. But then you go up and past the spot where it's snapped. It keeps growing. It's still alive and it's still doing great. Look at that. And it gets thicker up above than it is where it's snapped. Oh, Suzanne, we get crazy winds right off the North Atlantic. I'm really lucky that I'm in a spot that basically is a cove off of a cove. So we are, at the mouth of the Medway River. And then you kind of hang a left when you're coming in and you hit my little cove. So I get strong winds. But I actually, like, when you hear the waves, like I hear waves some nights and it's loud enough that you need to raise your voice a bit to talk. But here in front of my house on that water you were looking at, it's just wind ripples. Like, so we're really lucky here to be not too affected by the big weather. So tell the folks how bitterly cold the seawater is. Yes, it is. Well, when I go surfing so this is a spot I've cleared. We'll talk about that another time. If you subscribe to this channel and come and see some of the other tours in a little bit, we'll be able to talk about what's going here. But yeah, it's very, very cold, especially down this way. When I surf in the winter, I have a 6mm wetsuit on, like a 5.6, so it's 6 in the core, 5 on the extremities. In the warmest months, I'm wearing a 3.2, and usually you're wearing like a 4.3, which is, a lot of rubber to have to put on to be comfortable in the water. That said, once you get that on, it's not terrible, you get used to it. Do I own a boat to get on the water? Suzanne, I don't. I have a stand-up paddleboard. I have a regular surfboard. I have an inflatable kayak, and one of my goals for the next, probably won't be this summer. I have a lot that I'm trying to accomplish this summer building-wise, but the next 2 years, I'd like to build myself a little dory so I can have a rowboat to get myself across to Port Medway. And then if that goes well, that'll be the second boat I've ever built. So if that goes well, then I will try my my hand at building a sailboat. Sammy, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate you sticking around. I hope the trees and the Canadian wilderness was nice to see. One day I'd like to see Bahrain. I'll have to do some tours or watch some tours from people from there. And yeah, thank you so much. I think on Wednesday I'm doing a maple tapping tour. So we're going to, because the weather is still obviously a little below zero. Oh, thank you for coming, Suzanne. So we're gonna do. Oh, that's gonna blow really bad. Let's see if I can put my headphones back in. We'll do another maple tour on Wednesday. So I'll show you how to tap a tree. We'll talk about the science of it. Hold on.
Okay, I'm back with my headphones on. Oh, I love Green Bay. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, Cherry Hill is where I surf, and it's cold. You got to put on whatever. I always feel bad when you see tourists coming and they don't know when their kids go to jump into the ocean and they come running back out, and it's like, yeah, you got to get a wetsuit. Like, there's maybe 1 or 2 weeks of the year in mid-September that you don't need full protective gear. But yeah, sorry, but look at these big, fat, stupid flakes. So yeah, this upcoming Wednesday, so 2 days from now, we're doing East Port Medway population is like, I don't know, it's like 200 or something like that. It's really small. We're like the bad seed sibling of Port Medway. So Port Medway used to be the shipping hub and where all the timbers came from and where all the boats docked. And our town slogan, like every Nova Scotia town has a town slogan, like halfway between North Pole and the equator, or Christmas tree capital of the world, or whatever. East Port Medway's little one says rum running circa 1926 or something like that. So that's who Port Medway is. We're the bad kids in the South Shore playground, and I think that's why I wound up here. Yeah, so Wednesday Maple Tour. It's gonna be great. Got more stuff coming up. We're gonna do some. I'm not sure yet how to format them because I want to do some where I'm doing some like cutting and building, like building these bridges and stuff like that. This is obviously not finished. I don't do my shopping in Port Medway, Suzanne. I have to go to town. So there's a town about 15 minutes from here. So it's not. This is not incredibly remote. There's nowhere in Nova Scotia is that remote. Especially not on the South Shore. There's a fair few people. We're the second most densely populated province in Canada. Yeah, so that's how I do that. But I try to avoid going to town whenever possible. Yeah, so I'm going to try to do some construction ones too, like working with the chainsaw mill and assembling simple structures out of wood that we cut down and mill on the land. But I'm not sure how to do that because it's very time consuming and not particularly fun to watch happening in real time. So I'm going to wrap my head around that. There's foraging tours coming up after maple syrup. There's birch syrup that I didn't do last year that I'd like to try. There's spruce or conifer tips. We're going to make magolio, which is fermented pine cone syrup. There's, once we get into mushroom time, yeah, I've picked chanterelles. There's turkey tails. There's all sorts. I'm not super good with mushroom identification, so I can do what I can do, but I wouldn't feel comfortable leading a tour and behaving as if I was any kind of an authority on them. But what I would love to do is do it and have people on the other side of the tour be my expert. Or I'm going to find, I have a friend who's a professional forage tour person, and I might get them to come down if they're up for it and spend a day doing that. So I think, everyone, this might be where I say goodbye. Don't make me move to Nova Scotia. Virginia, we'd love to have you. It's a beautiful place, and yeah, I never a day goes by that I don't feel incredibly grateful for living here. Okay, so then I'm going to do this. Bonk. My name is Eric Southey. Well, maybe I don't need to give my last name out on this. Yeah, please come back and check it out. Again, tips and all that if you're feeling it. Otherwise, like it. I'm going to do a YouTube channel to download these. So if you're interested in seeing like how we tap a maple tree, that's up on, it's the only video on that right now because I've just learned how to do it. But there'll be more coming there. I don't know. I really appreciate all of you being here. I really appreciate the time spent. I hope this is as fun for you as it is for me. I mean, you don't get all the good brain chemistry from the terpenes and stuff in the woods, but I'm hoping a chill walk in the woods is beneficial for everyone, you know. And yeah, please come, everybody. Bernadette, oh, thanks for coming. I've got to go. Um, and I will see all of you guys very soon. Have a great day, and come back Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be fun. Wednesday, we're going to learn about how to tap maple trees. And I got to say, that's one of my favorite tours because, well, you get maple syrup at the end of it. So, yeah. With that said, I love you all. Thank you for coming. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.